This is a theory that talks about Bowser and King Boo from the Mario series. Bowser is a crazy villain. Some of his deaths at the end of Mario games are pretty brutal. An example is in Super Mario Galaxy 1, where he falls into a star and is then stranded on an exploding planet that turns into a black hole. King Boo's role in the Mario series is at first glance doesn't seem to be anything significant. He only appears in a few Mario games and, aside from the Luigi's Mansion series, his role in the games he does appear in is minor. You may think that Bowser and King Boo have nothing related to each other. However, they both play a major role together in the Mario series, which keeps the series alive. While this is never explained directly, there are a few games in the Mario series which give you hints about the truth of Bowser and King Boo. Super Mario World is the first game in the Mario series in which evidence for the theory can be seen. King Boo was really around as early as the Super Mario Bros. 3 days in which Boo's first appeared. He just never appeared in-game. Have you realized how occasionally there was these ghost house levels in Super Mario World? These houses are where Boos lived peacefully in their afterlife. Then came Mario, who stormed into these houses and wreaked havoc numerous times throughout the events of the game, often with malicious intent. The Boos knew they had to stop this, so they reported Mario's actions to King Boo. King Boo was furious about this, so he decided to start tracking down Mario. Similar levels of havoc would continue in future Mario games, thus beginning the Boos and King Boo's hatred towards Mario that continues to this very day. Paper Mario is the second Mario game that provides evidence for this theory. The main attention in this game for the theory goes to Bowser, but King Boo deserves to be mentioned as well. This is because Mario had actually allied with the Boos in World 3 of that game, and so you may think that this would change King Boo's mood about Mario. However, if you think more into it, you'll see that this brief alliance wasn't nearly enough to make up for Mario's past aggression. First, he only allied with one ghost house compared to the several he disrupted in past games. Secondly, the alliance was forced because they wouldn't give him the Star Spirit until he helped solve their problem. All in all, what Mario did in Paper Mario wasn't enough to stop King Boo's hatred towards him. Bowser plays a much bigger role to the theory in Paper Mario. The end of the game is where it gets particularly interesting. This starts in the scene where Mario, Bowser, and Kammy Koopa are up on a platform way up in the clouds that is about to explode. Mario is seen escaping with the help of the Star Spirits. Bowser, on the other hand, isn't so lucky. Explosions can be seen and heard without him or Kammy Koopa escaping. While Bowser's deaths before this game were at least understandable on how he survived, maybe he can swim in lava and only got injured in the smaller falls, there is no explanation on how Bowser can survive being stranded on an exploding platform thousands of feet in the sky, no matter how tough or resilient he may have been in the past. Mario fell from the same height at the very beginning of the game, and even he got killed, though he was fortunately revived by the Star Spirits. In fact, proof about Bowser's death may be hinted in-game. At the very end of the game, when you must walk to Peach's castle to trigger the ending scene, go to the center part of town. In front of Merlin's house, there should be a sign, which is called the Toad Town News. After mentioning about how Mario defeated Bowser and how Peach and her castle are safe, it also mentions this. Bowser was badly beaten and will likely never return. We're sure of it. Almost positive. After saying the obvious on how Bowser was badly beaten, it also states how confident they are that Bowser won't return. This connection that could be made with this series of events strongly suggests that Bowser hadn't suffered such a brutal beating before that he had finally been killed. But wait, if Bowser is dead, then why is he still alive as the main villain in the Mario series today? This is because the theory still expands to the Mario game released after Paper Mario, Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion is perhaps the most important and significant game to this theory. You all know what happens at the start of the game. Luigi goes to a mansion that he won in a contest, only to find that it is much darker than advertised and needs to find out where Mario is, who went into the mansion before him. This game features King Boo's first in-game appearance. He appears after Luigi opens a trap door and a bunch of Boos and King Boo fly out of it. About midway through the game, you can see King Boo in a fancy room with Mario inside as a painting, struggling to get out. This is the first sign that King Boo is up to something sinister with Mario. But soon after, perhaps the most crucial event in relation to the theory occurs. In Area 3, do you remember the fortune-telling ghost, also known as Madame Clairvoyant? You know, the kind ghost who tells Luigi to bring Mario's dropped objects so she can see what happened to Mario. Well, once you give her the last object, after she tells the orb to show them all it can about Mario, she will say this. "What is this? Bowser? How can this be? I see the hideous form of Bowser. Is Bowser somewhere in this mansion? I cannot believe it. And yet I see it. I thought that Mario had soundly defeated Bowser. Has King Boo somehow revived Bowser? This could be horrible. Well, for you. While she confirms that Bowser still exists, she doesn't understand why considering Mario soundly defeated Bowser. Remember though that Paper Mario was the Mario game before Luigi's Mansion, and how the Toad Town news sign in Paper Mario also thought that Bowser wouldn't return. Also recall Bowser's brutal defeat at the end of Paper Mario. See a connection there. Also note on the part when she mentions how King Boo could have revived Bowser. This will be important later on. Another connection can be made when Luigi opens the door to King Boo's room. Before the final battle begins, King Boo talks to Mario's painting, and at least one point says this interesting line. "I remember how much trouble you've caused me in the past." This doesn't make sense at first, considering this is a King Boo's first appearance in the Mario series, but remember what I said earlier about how Mario kept going on to the ghost houses in Super Mario World? That and other confrontation with Boos is what King Boo meant by the trouble. King Boo then turns the Mario painting into the Bowser painting, then goes into the painting and sucks Luigi in. You will then fight the final boss on the roof of the mansion, Bowser with King Boo controlling him. Now, remember that the fortune-telling ghost mentioned on how King Boo could have somehow revived Bowser? The connections here imply that King Boo wanted to get revenge on Mario for the trouble he caused with other Boos by first luring him into a mansion filled with ghosts, then reviving his now dead arch-enemy, Bowser. The evidence doesn't stop after Luigi's Mansion. If you pay attention, you will see that Bowser's deaths after Luigi's Mansion are more violent and extreme than before. The previously mentioned Super Mario Galaxy 1 is a good example of this. After his defeat in the final battle, Bowser falls into a star. This should surely burn him to death, as even if he can swim in lava, the gravity should flatten him. Yet he appears later on a planet that is getting destroyed. The planet then explodes and turns into a black hole, all with Bowser still stranded on it. It may seem like there are no way Bowser can return from that and other brutal defeats in recent Mario games, but there may actually be one explanation. Just recently, I explained how King Boo revived Bowser. Well, even after his apparent defeat by Luigi in the end of the game, King Boo didn't get completely destroyed in Luigi's Mansion. Why? He is a ghost, and as you know, because ghosts are already dead, they can't die. What King Boo did instead, though, is give Bowser some help. He took over his body to possess him and keep him alive, believing Bowser to be the best vessel to find a way to get revenge on Mario and make his life miserable. You know the tales on how ghosts come for revenge and haunt you forever? This is exactly what is happening to Mario. The theory can explain some other oddities with Bowser in more recent games, such as his sudden shift to a very sinister personality. In most games before Luigi's Mansion, Bowser's plan is mostly just to capture Peach and keep Mario from saving her. In games after Luigi's Mansion, Bowser focuses on trying to really marry Peach, actually killing Mario, and to conquer the Mushroom Kingdom. Sometimes he even takes it to another level to conquer the universe, like what we've seen in Super Mario Galaxy. This sudden darker shift proves only further that Bowser is controlled by King Boo, with Bowser now sharing the same sinister personality King Boo did in his in-game appearances. It would make sense that Bowser's plans would get more extreme as well. And why would this King Boo-controlled Bowser still try and marry Peach? Not necessarily because King Boo is in love with Peach, but because he wants to break Mario's heart. This is also why Bowser keeps coming back. No matter how brutal his defeat is, since he's controlled by King Boo, he won't die as now he is part ghost. And of course, the fact that his part ghost Bowser would never truly die only emboldens him to have more extreme plans. Now, one may think some source of magic, mainly from Kamek, may be reviving Bowser alive instead. But it's hard to imagine that this is the case in some of Bowser's recent deaths. In both Super Mario Galaxy games, Bowser's final defeat is getting sucked into a black hole, and it is hard to imagine anyone going in with him to revive him, lest they be killed too. Only King Boo, a ghost who can't die, can help Bowser somehow find a way to survive still intact. Perhaps he's even made another full, physical copy of Bowser's body, something no character has been proven to do in the Mario series, other than King Boo at the end of Luigi's Mansion. In some of the more recent Mario games, such as New Super Mario Bros. For the DS, a new form of Bowser with only his bones called Dry Bowser appears. This form appears after Bowser had just fallen into lava following his defeat. It seemingly makes no sense for Bowser to have his skin burnt off by the lava and still function perfectly with only his bones. But this theory can provide sense into this situation. While the lava would damage Bowser's body itself and burn all the skin off, it wouldn't impact King Boo's possession of the body. This would allow Bowser to function fine with only his bones. In fact, Bowser's carcass is actually not the only body which is possessed after it is defeated. Dry Bones enemies, which are the remains of regular Koopas, are still able to function and be a threat to Mario despite being dead because regular Boos are possessing them. Since King Boo is more powerful than any other Boos, it would make sense for him to be able to possess the king of the Koopas, Bowser. As a more powerful Boo, King Boo might also have the unique ability to return Bowser's skin later on as well. After Luigi's Mansion, King Boo himself only physically appeared in Mario spin-off games such as Mario Party and Mario Kart, as well as a select few other Mario games such as Super Mario Sunshine and Super Princess Peach. King Boo's appearances in these games may seem to debunk this theory, but pay attention to how King Boo looks in Luigi's Mansion games and how he looks in all other games. The Luigi's Mansion King Boo has a feature unique to all other Boos, such as the glowing eyes, purple tongue, and the crystal crown. The King Boo in all other Mario games does not have any of these features. He more resembles Big Boo in these games instead, just a larger version of regular Boos, except with a crown on his head. What this most likely indicates is that the King Boo you see in Mario Kart, Mario Party, and other non-Luigi's Mansion games is either a fake or replacement king, while the true King Boo is busy controlling Bowser. In Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, King Boo, likely frustrated from a series of defeats while in possession of Bowser, escapes from Bowser's body to try and come up with a different plan while in his ghost form, perhaps trying to take a different approach than usual in order to achieve success. Bowser doesn't make an appearance in the game at all, which can be seen as evidence for the theory. It should be noted that King Boo never made it clear that he managed to escape his painting he appeared in to be trapped in at the end of the first Luigi's Mansion game, in order to make sure Mario couldn't connect him to Bowser. However, he saw Professor Egad's decision to sell all the paintings in this game as a good opportunity to make it appear as though he escaped the painting after being trapped in it. Despite King Boo's efforts to get revenge on the Mario Bros. And achieve domination by shattering the Dark Moon, Luigi again manages to defeat him in ghost form. King Boo, of course, doesn't really die at the end of the game. He just returns to Bowser's body to think of a next plan. The plot of Super Mario 3D World may provide proof to the theory. In this game, instead of capturing Peach, the King Boo-controlled Bowser instead attempts to kidnap the 7 Sprixie princesses. The decision may appear to make no sense from Bowser's perspective, but with the knowledge of this theory, it actually does. The reason that the Sprixies are the only ones who can actually destroy ghosts. This leads to King Boo kidnapping the princesses instead of Peach, as he identified these princesses as a true threat to him. Although defeated, King Boo was still able to escape. Another similar theory is the one explained above, is that King Boo is actually Bowser's ghost. The theory would mostly have the same concept, except this time, there was no true King Boo before Paper Mario, and when Bowser died in Paper Mario, his spirit became King Boo. which was the first seen directly afterwards in none other than the game next chronologically, Luigi's Mansion. Therefore, the trouble in the past that King Boo met in Luigi's Mansion would not specifically be for the trouble he caused in the ghost houses, but for the trouble he caused him while he was alive trying to capture Peach. King Boo then built and revived his own body, which, with the exception of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, used to try and get revenge on the Mario Bros, over and over, but with failure each time. With the fact that dry bones are referred to as dead Koopa Troopers possessed by their own spirits in the form of Boos, it makes sense that Bowser, the king of the Koopa Troopas, would be possessed by his own spirit in the form of King Boo, and Bowser also having a dry bones-like form with dry Bowser. This could also explain how Bowser, even after Luigi's Mansion, still showed an infatuation towards Peach. Since under this theory King Boo is the dead form of Bowser, it would make sense that he would still try and marry Peach. And it would also make sense that he tried to take it more seriously and go a step forward with extreme and dangerous plans of world domination now that he doesn't need to worry about the fear of death, since he is now, in fact, undead. So that was the Bowser and King Boo theory by My World. I think this one's been around for a while, I want to say 2012, 2013, and what did I think of it? Well, I was already kind of familiar with this one, but re-narrating it once again, it really shows its ass, so to speak. Where it's just a bunch of bones, no pun intended for all the talk about dry bones and ghosts, but it really just doesn't make sense. To accept this, we have to go back to 1990. To the Super Nintendo, and then just assume that Nintendo had the theory to begin with, and that it was one plan to possess him afterwards, which doesn't really make sense. They try and explain Bowser's shifted personality or whatever, but it doesn't really make sense. Does the possession, usually when you get possessed you don't keep your personality, but I guess the confines of this theory, you just come back, but I guess King Boo can still influence you with why his plans became a little bit weirder. It's a cool theory, and I think there is a lot of really interesting details, especially that King Boo is so different in the dedicated Luigi's Mansion games, specifically to every other spin-off he's been in, and Bowser's fate in Luigi's Mansion itself, the first one, is also very, very interesting. That it's something I really want to look into, but I don't think this one was a particularly good showing of it. I also had to re-record it a bunch of times because some of the descriptions were really weirdly typed. It was similes and things things you'd normally understand were kind of backwards, and they just kept mentioning the game titles when they could have just had a shorthand euphemism because you've already mentioned them. And a lot of the stuff written in here just feels redundant. And we also have another whole sub-theory that is just thrown in at the end that we have to sleep on that also connects to the original theory, where it kind of just feel like Buddy just made that up on the fly. I don't want to dunk on it too hard. I think I've been a little bit negative. I like mostly the ideas this pasta has, but the actual execution is a little lacking. I think it works well, and I think it really could have just been focused on Luigi's Mansion. That one game has enough to talk about. It's such a weird development history, but I mean, it's just a silly theory. I don't know how much the author directly believes it, but I think a lot of the differences in how King Boo is portrayed, in Mario Sunshine versus Luigi's Mansion, is just partially that Nintendo wanted to be a bit edgier with the GameCube, which is why Luigi's Mansion was the launch title, but also every game being developed for the GameCube was a nightmare. If you've ever played Mario Sunshine, you'll know how unfinished that game is and unpolished. So it is genuinely possible they just had two different ideas of King Boo's for the development team and did not have time or did not care to finish it, which is why we get the vastly different forms. But I'm curious to what everyone else has to say about it. What did you think about the Bowser and King Boo theory? Let me know down in the comment section below. And until then, have a lovely rest of your day.